Yo, MrJamble's here. We're gonna talk about a dream from yesterday. Mostly I dream and then I remember my entire dream for some reason, which happened today. I was like, God damn! And I was laughing my ass off when I woke up. It was so fucking funny. It's just a cliffhanger though. Like, on the end of my dream, I was like, fuck, I would have wanna know like the ending. So yesterday on stream I was like, I'm gonna dream about castles, I'm gonna dream about adventures and about slicing things to half. That's literally what I said yesterday night. So what did I dream about? Like everything I just said, like everything I just mentioned I dream about. I was like, God damn. So my dream was in a medieval settings with kings, queens, castles, monsters, levels and ranks in adventure guilds. The main character of my dream was a princess of one of the biggest kingdoms in the entire world, and she managed to make it to A rank adventure, and everybody hated that. The reason why everybody hated that was because of the world I dreamed of. Every man would be an adventurer and or a hunter, while the woman would always just stay behind. So the kings of every single country hated the woman. The reason why is because she managed to get to the highest rank, which is A rank, adventurer as a woman. So every single king just literally hated the hell out of her. She was the first princess and there were no princes in her family. Her father died, so she would eventually become the queen of a country, the first queen of a country. But everything changed when the portals opened. There were two gate portals that opened on the side of the castle. The princess looked outside and saw two men coming out of the portals. She was like, what the fuck is actually happening right now? She went downstairs on her castle, go outside and talk to them. They were outlanders. So right now you must be asking, what are Outlanders? Outlanders are basically people from the future that manage to go back in time with a device called a rift generator. A rift generator basically creates rifts and they went through the rift, managed to create a portal in a different timeline to go out of the portal to manage to get to the kingdom where the princess resides in. They told the princess they'd wait back in time because they had to do an experiment. An experiment which was basically based on a project they had in the future, which could save humanity, because in the future the world would have a very bad ending, which could be prevented by going through this experiment. The princess did not believe the two men, so one of the two men pull out a kind of like a gun. Well, we would call it a gun, but it was kind of like a laser. So what he did was he turned around. There was a huge mountain there, and he was like, "Princess, you see that mountain over there, like in the back, like all the way there?" And she was like, "Yeah, what about it?" So he shot that laser and literally fucking halved the mountain. Like you saw the mountain just fucking go sideways. Dude, in my dream I was laughing my ass off, but it was just so fucking funny to see. It was so funny. From that moment the princess believed them and asked them what she should do. And what the two said was, get all the kings from the neighboring kingdoms around you and hold a discussion here. We need to talk to them all. So what she said was, give me 2 weeks. We give you a residence and we'll get there when I got them all together. And she said that in a pretty like stupid manner because she's an Avenger girl and she did not have like good manners in a way. The princess called over a servant which basically led the two men to their residence. The princess then continued to use communication magic to communicate with all the kingdoms around her and then talk about everything, what just happened. The other kings never believed her, so she said that if they don't come, she would start war. The king called her outrageous, but they still agreed to it, and they said they will all come. So every king in the neighboring kingdoms would eventually come to her. At this point, 2 weeks has passed, and they went to the residence where the two people were residing, like the two outlanders. So they went to the residence with all the kings, and there were also princes and princesses that were following them, and they all went in a room with the princess in front sitting on a stool while everybody was standing, and then she stood up and started talking. So the two outlanders stood up and they told everybody that they have to participate in a card game. And all the kings and queens and princesses and princes were like, what the fuck has a card game to do with the future and with the destruction of humanity? The outlanders then explained to them that it's not just a simple card game, it's called Kingdom Cards. Get it? So they all ask, what is Kingdom Cards? Basically, you got a deck of 200 cards each, and each one of those cards has like special ability. You got attacking cards, defending cards, trap cards, and you also got hellish cards and god cards. Basically what they do is both of you have a health bar. Instead of Yu-Gi-Oh where you have a health bar on one character, they have a health bar on their kingdom. So whenever the health bar of their kingdom reaches 0, it will ultimately mean that your entire kingdom would be destroyed and every single resident in your kingdom would die. And they had no choice but to accept this proposal from the two outlanders, otherwise they would personally come to their kingdom and fucking destroy it. They all called it outrageous and rage would start. But eventually the princess would say, I agree to these terms and I'll join it. So what happened is that there is in total two placements for the experiment. And only two of them, like two of all of those people that were in that room, would be able to join that experiment. So all the other kingdoms would be destroyed except those two. They all went through their decks of cards, and now we hear the Yu-Gi-Oh fans on the background, but how can you hold 200 cards in your fucking hands? And my answer to that is, actually you're holding two cards. And then you're like, how the fuck are you holding two cards with our 200 cards? What I basically mean with that is that each person has two cards. Whenever they draw one card, the card under that card would change. So you could infinitely change your cards in your deck. So let's say you pick one card, the one under that would change, and then the card you have in your hand would be the card you have drawn. After the card is drawn and the effect is already happened, let's say it already happened, okay, like the card effect already activated and it happened, then you place the card under the card you have in your hand, because you have two cards, so you hold it under the card you already have in your hand. Then you draw the card on top of that, which would then reset the card you just put back. So you could infinitely draw cards that way. The Outlanders told them that they could look at every single card that was in the deck just once. They put the cards in their decks on repeat, so they could literally pick a card, put it back, pick a card, put it back, to see every single card that's in the deck. When they finished checking every single card in the deck, it went back to randomize. So after that, after everybody saw all the cards that were in the deck, then it would actually start, you know what I mean? So after hellish cards battles, there were only two people left. The princess which I talked about, which became an A-ranked adventurer, and a neighboring king which basically hated the princess to the bones. If everybody who is listened to this point want to know about the entire card battle, put on a like and say that you want to know about it, and I would literally make a video about it, about me talking about the entire card battle, cause for some reason I still fucking remember it. In the end, both kingdoms had to put forward one representative of their kingdom which would take part in this experiment. So the princess basically called for herself. She wanted to be participating in the experiment herself. The king, however, did not want to participate in it because he was too old. So he sent a prince out who is gonna participate in this experiment. But that prince was basically the only prince he had, and he was fucking stupid. Like, it was one of those stupid kids, you know what I mean? So one of the Outlanders stepped forward. He went with his hand through his pocket, and there was a cube that came out of his pocket. A black cube. We were all looking at that black cube, and they were like, "What the fuck has this black cube to do with the experiment?" And he said, "Shh, just watch." So what he do was go outside of the residence. He threw the box in the air, which basically landed like a Pokeball on the fucking ground. So after the Outlander threw his black cube on the ground, it created a black area. Everybody was like fucking scared of that black area until the Outlander said, "Walk into that area." So the princess and the prince, which got basically as representative of the kingdoms, went inside of that black area. Inside the black area were two green cubes, like you could see through the cubes. And there was like a VR headset laying on the ground of the cube on both sides. Then the Outlanders explained what would happen afterwards. So basically, after they put on that VR headset, they would basically. So the Outlanders told them that if they put on the VR, then they will possess a life form from the future. It's all random, and they said they don't know what you're gonna possess. But you have to go through the experiment as what you become. After that, they explain that there are huge risks. For instance, when they cut out their own arm, like let's say they cut off their own arm in that virtual world, which they call it a virtual world, but actually it's the future and they're actually there, then your body, which is in this reality, so basically their own timeline, like let's say the medical timeline, they would literally lose their arm for real. So if it gets cut off in their VR, it gets cut off in real. So they would basically lose their arm if they lose it in VR. You know what I mean? So if they get killed in their VR, then they would also get killed in real life, basically. So they both agreed to it, and they both put on the VR. So the beings that they are actually possessing, the princess would possess an alligator, which is very stupid in my opinion. But the second one is even funnier, cause the prince would possess a pig. That was so funny, I almost woke up back then. So the moment they were possessing the alligator and pig was basically because the alligator was trying to capture the pig to eat the pig. But what actually, where they were was the biggest, like, oof ever. They were in a biohazardous area, which basically had a huge lake which was poisonous. It was a poisonous lake. We don't know how deep the lake actually is, but there were beings living inside of that lake. They were running to the lake, and the moment that they started to possess them was actually when they were already in the lake. So that was the biggest oof ever. What actually happened then was that the pig instantly died the moment he was in the pool because he got eaten by some random monster, and the alligator was basically the princess. She didn't die instantly. Instead, she got, well, almost digested by a megalodon-sized shark. And you'll be like, what the fuck is that? Like, that is how far my dreams actually goes, okay? So what happened was that the alligator was basically just like swimming in that fucking poisonous pool, and then this huge fucking humongous fucking shark came out of fucking nowhere, okay? He came out of fucking nowhere, and he was like, "Blup!" And he got that alligator, okay? But the princess who was in the alligator did something which was remarkable, which was like galaxy brain. What she did was she cut off one of her fucking alligator arms. I don't know how she did it, okay, it was my dream. and she used that arm to pin herself on like the tongue of the of the shark. And I was like, in my dream, I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Like I was just out there. It's like I have fucking mushrooms or something. I don't know, but I dreamed that. So she was basically holding on to her fucking bone, which was basically like stuck into the tongue of the megalodon. And then in reality, where she was, then you would see that her arm just fell off. And what the Outlanders did was they used a laser on her arm, so she wouldn't like bleed anymore. But she basically lost at that point an arm. That was just damn. So what happened was that the alligator toxicated the megalodon. You'd be like, how the fuck can you toxicate a 1,000-year-old megalodon who is living in a fucking poisonous swamp? Galaxy brain. And then in my brain it was like, it was normal blood with a normal alligator that went into a poisonous megalodon that is not resistant to normal blood. So what happened was it created parasites in the megalodon's body, and you'd be like, what the fuck is this story going? And I'm like, yes, this is where the story is going. So what happened was So what happened was it created those parasites inside of the megalodon, which would basically eat them from the inside out. So in this future world, there are in total 6 different ranks of monsters. You got the common, uncommon, rare, and then starts like the really strong ones. Disaster, demigod, and god rank monsters. This was a disaster rank monster. So what happens with disaster rank monsters is that every single disaster rank monster and beyond has like kind of like a control room in their brain, or in a, or rather said, a brain room. That sounds really stupid if you think about it. So what happened with the alligator was he was going through the entire body of the megalodon and reached the brain room, and he was like, what the fuck is this area? It looks like I'm in a fucking in a lab or something. Then this weird alien-like creature basically came out of the megalodon's brain and was standing in front of the alligator, aka the princess. So that weird figure that came out of the brain of the megalodon was actually the megalodon. And the megalodon explained then that each disaster rank and above monster got like a brain room with a second body inside their brain. So the alligator was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you fucking high or something? At least that's what I interpreted. Then the megalodon said, when your normal body, basically your first body, dies, then your second body would also die. You would use your second body to infiltrate other disaster rank and above monsters to then increase your power. So what actually happened afterwards is that the body of the megalodon would die eventually because of the parasites. So the megalodon told the alligator that she would give all her power to the alligator. So the alligator agreed, and the megalodon gave all the power in like a laser form to the alligator. What happened with the alligator is that she transformed. The alligator transformed in some weird ass being, like some like I don't know why I fucking dream about this, okay? I don't fucking know, okay? What it looked like was a fucking, okay, it was like a human woman, and she was bald, an arthropod abdomen on her back, with one arm of her was a blade, and the other arm was like a normal arm, and then everything else would be human, okay? And that's the fucking idea I had back then. I don't know why I dream about this, okay? I don't fucking know. So after that, the alligator became like a fucking chimera or some shit like that, okay? It looked like a fucking chimera, okay? And then she acquired the power of teleportation, I don't know how or where this fucking power came from, okay? I don't know why I dream about this yet again. And then the Megalodon explained that there was somebody who created this toxic pool, and she gave the mission to like the fucking princess to find this person, which she have never seen before but knows the location from. And then the princess agreed, and then the Megalodon died, and then the princess would teleport to where the Megalodon said it would be. But it was the wrong direction. So she teleported into a desert with a village next to her. So, big brain, I was like fucking galaxy thinking, like, what the fuck am I dreaming? She first was inside of a megalodon in a poisonous lake, then teleported into a desert, and I was like, I think my fucking brain me is fucking high or something, but it is what it is. And then it fucking continued, okay? So the residents of this village were like weird monsters. They were like midget-sized, combination between a slug and a cyclope. They had one eye, and they were like fucking squishy. Okay, they were fucking stupid. They were like the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then the princess was looking at what they were doing, and what they were doing was they were slicing open a cactus, and then they tried to like eat what's inside of the cactus in like a stupid way. So the princess, who had one arm as blade, was like, okay, let's try to cut this cactus to maybe get some food. So she cut the cactus, but she used too much like power because she didn't know how much power she had yet, and it hit one of the residents, which would be instant killed. Then all the other residents were looking at her like, what the fuck? Like they were literally just fucking in battle mode almost. But then you hear this, and then everything went back to normal. Like they were just doing their thing again. Then one of the residents walked into a cactus and died. Then the other one tried to put his hand inside of a cactus and died. Then the other one tries to like, I don't know what he did. He was like trying to kiss a cactus or something, but then part of his face was like stuck into the cactus and was pulled off. Then he ran the other way. Then he looked back and he saw like part of his face like stuck on the cactus, and he was like, "Oh, I need that part of my face back." So he walked with his face into the cactus and died. You don't realize just how much I was laughing in my dream. Like, I was literally dying. I was literally fucking dying from the inside. And now when I woke up, I was literally like, what the fuck am I dreaming about? Some crazy shit. I think I'm just something. Like, fucking hell, man. But after she seen all those things, she noticed something, a notification that she got experience from killing one of the residents. She looked at the residents and they looked back at her, and she knew that those residents were so stupid that even if they like were killed, it wouldn't even fucking matter, okay? That's literally what she was thinking. So she just fucking killed all of them, and she was like, yep, this is it. And she leveled up a ton because of that. She then acquired a power called GPS system map. So she had a map, and wherever the coordinates where the Megalodon sent it to was wrong because it was 2 miles the other way. Okay? It was 2 miles the other way where the person where she was searching for was. And then I woke up, and that's it. So that's the cliffhanger. Like, I don't know what happened after that. I don't know. I just really want to know it, but I just don't know. And if I say something about it, it would be a fucking lie, cause I don't know anything what happened past that point. So, I hope you enjoyed this short story about one of my crazy ass dreams. And if you like it, and comment below, I'll tell maybe another dream whenever I dream about it. It would be fucking funny. But GG guys, and have a great night.